May 2024. Imagine this. You're a line cook in Buffalo, New York, or maybe a server in Orlando. You wake up, you put on that black uniform, you drive to work thinking about the lunch rush. Maybe you're worried about the rent. Maybe you're just thinking about the prep list. You pull into the lot, and there's a padlock on the door. No warning, no text message, just a sign. Inside, the tanks, those bubbling blue tanks that defined fancy for generations of American kids, are being drained. The lobsters are being auctioned off to the highest bidder right alongside the convection ovens and the booth seating. It was a sudden cardiac arrest for a brand that had been the beating heart of American dining for 50 years. We all know this place, right? I mean, look at this. It wasn't just a restaurant. It was middle-class fancy. It was where you went for prom. It was where you took your grandma for her 80th birthday because she loved the scampi. For decades, Red Lobster was the only place in landlocked America where a kid from Iowa could crack a crab leg like a robber baron on a yacht. But then, something snapped. You probably heard this story. You probably saw the memes. Americans ate too much shrimp. The $20 endless shrimp deal bankrupted the company. It's a funny headline, right? A nation of gluttons literally eating a corporate giant out of house and home. But here's the thing. That's a lie. Okay, it's not a lie, but it's a convenient myth. It's a cover-up because the death of Red Lobster wasn't caused by you eating too many scampies in 2023. The murder weapon was loaded, cocked, and fired 10 years ago. This isn't a story about seafood. This is a story about a heist. It's a story about how some of the smartest, richest guys in suits on Wall Street looked at your favorite family restaurant and saw a piggy bank to be smashed. It's a story about the real estate trap, the supplier conflict, and the corporate rating strategy so ruthless it should be illegal. We are going to peel back the layers of this onion, or I guess this shrimp cocktail. We're going to look at the golden era of innovation that made this place a legend. We're going to meet the villain who sold the ground out from under them. And we're going to find out why a Thai seafood conglomerate might have wanted you to eat that company into the grave. So grab a biscuit. Seriously, grab two. They're free. And buckle up, because we are about to autopsy an American icon. This is the story of the rise, the financialization, and the collapse of Red Lobster. To understand why the crash hurts so bad, we gotta understand how high they flew. And it starts with a guy named Bill Darden. Now, Bill wasn't your typical suit. He was born in the South, 1918, and at just 19 years old, he opens his first spot, the Green Frog in Waycross, Georgia. And this is where you fall in love with the guy. 1930s Georgia, deep segregation. Jim Crow is the law of the land. But Bill says, nah. He ran his joint with a philosophy. Anyone can eat here. Anyone. He believed in, and this is a quote, service with a hop for everyone. He saw customers as people, not demographics. And that DNA, that populist good food for the many DNA, that's what built the empire. Fast forward to 1968. Bill has an idea. He wants to open a seafood restaurant. But not on the beach. No, that's too easy. He opens the first Red Lobster in Lakeland, Florida. Now, for those of you who failed geography, Lakeland is surrounded by lakes, sure, but it is not on the ocean. Critics were like, Bill, you're crazy. You can't serve fresh seafood in our inland. It'll be gross. And honestly, in 1968, they were right. Seafood back then was for rich people on the coast. Everyone else got fish sticks. So Bill Darden literally changed the logistics of the restaurant industry. He didn't just buy fish, he bought cargo space. He started flying fresh catches from the coast to distribution hubs. He turned Red Lobster into the, get this, largest overnight shipper of fresh fish in the world. There's this legendary story where Bill meets a caterer on a plane who wants to sell Maine lobsters in Florida. Bill realizes, wait, passenger planes have empty bellies. I can fill them with lobster. Boom! Suddenly, you're in Kansas City eating a lobster that was in the Atlantic Ocean yesterday. That was magic. That was the secret sauce. General Mills, the Cheerios guys, saw this and bought him out in 1970. They gave Bill a blank check. And with that cash, they invented the weapon that would conquer America. The invention of popcorn shrimp. Before this, shrimp was intimidating. It had legs, it had eyes, it was fancy food you ate with a tiny fork. Red Lobster said, what if we treated shrimp like chicken nuggets? They breaded it, they fried it, they made it bite-size. And America lost its collective mind. This was the first rung on the dopamine ladder. Salty, crunchy, fried seafood. It bridged the gap between fast food and fine dining. But they weren't done. 1992, the piece de resistance. The culinary crack cocaine that would hook a nation. The Cheddar Bay Biscuit. You know the feeling. You sit down. You haven't even ordered a drink yet, and a server drops a basket of warm, garlic-buttered, cheesy garbs in front of you. For free! Unlimited! This is psychological warfare, folks. It's called the reciprocity norm. They give you a gift immediately. You feel taken care of. You feel indebted. Your brain gets a massive hit of salt, fat, and carbs, the holy trinity of dopamine. By 2017, they were baking 1 million of these things a day. 1 million! People didn't go to Red Lobster for the lobster. They went for the biscuit fix. The lobster was just the excuse. By the mid-90s, Red Lobster was the crown jewel of Darden Restaurant. They owned the land their restaurant sat on. They owned their supply chain. They were an operational masterpiece, a fortress. It seemed like nothing could take them down. But sharks can smell blood from miles away. And in 2014, the sharks weren't in the ocean. They were in a boardroom in New York City, and they were holding a PowerPoint presentation that would burn the whole thing down to the ground. Okay, pause for a second. Be honest in the comments right now. When was the last time you went to a Red Lobster? And more importantly, have you ever eaten just one biscuit? If you say yes, I know you're lying. But seriously, we're about to get into the part of the story where things get dark. We're talking about Vulture Capitalism. It's complicated, but I'm going to make it super simple. And hey, if you want me to do a deep dive into why the Olive Garden breadsticks are supposedly too salty, according to hedge funds, hit that subscribe button. We do deep dives on corporate disasters every week. Help us feed the algorithm. All right, back to the crime scene. The year is 2014. Darden Restaurants is struggling a little bit. Not dying, just stumbling. And this attracted an activist investor group called Starboard Value. Now, these guys are famous for one thing: being petty. They released a 294-page slide deck that went viral, by the way, roasting Darden. They complained that Olive Garden wasn't salting their pasta water. They complained that the breadsticks were going stale because servers brought out too many at once. They were ruthless. But their main demand wasn't about pasta. It was about real estate. They looked at Red Lobster and said, "Why do you guys own all these buildings? That's billions of dollars of dirt sitting there doing nothing. Sell the land, give us the cash." Darden's management panicked. To get the activists off their back, they made a deal with the devil, or specifically, a private equity firm called Golden Gate Capital. In May 2014, Darden sold Red Lobster to Golden Gate for $2.1 billion. Now stick with me because this is the heist. Golden Gate didn't want to run a seafood restaurant. They wanted to do a sale-leaseback. Here's how it works. Golden Gate buys Red Lobster for $2.1 billion. Immediately, they turn around and sell the actual buildings and land to another company for $1.5 billion. They pocket that $1.5 billion. So effectively, they'd bought a massive restaurant chain for only $600 million. A steal, right? But here's the trap. Red Lobster, which used to live in its own house for free, now had to pay rent. Massive rent. We're talking $190 million a year. And the lease had a triple net clause, meaning Red Lobster had to pay for all the maintenance, taxes, and insurance too. Oh, and the rent went up 2% every single year. Suddenly, Red Lobster wasn't a restaurant company. It was a tenant struggling to pay a landlord. They stripped the assets, took the cash, and left the restaurant with a ticking bomb of debt. As one analyst put it, when that real estate deal took off, that was the beginning of the end. But wait, it gets worse. Introduce the supplier conflict. By 2020, Golden Gate wanted out. They sold the company to Thai Union Group. Who is Thai Union? They are one of the world's largest seafood suppliers. They farm shrimp. Huge amounts of shrimp. Now think about this. If you own a restaurant, you want to buy ingredients for the lowest price possible, right? But if you are a shrimp supplier who owns the restaurant, you want the restaurant to buy your shrimp for the highest price possible. And you want them to buy a lot of it. See the problem? Red Lobster stopped being a customer. It became a dumpster, a place for Thai Union to offload their excess inventory. This set the stage for the most disastrous promotion in food history. The missed opportunity here wasn't about menu innovation. It was the opportunity to not turn a beloved brand into a shrimp landfill. But they couldn't resist. The rent is suffocating them. Inflation is high. They need a miracle. Thai Union is sitting on a massive glut of shrimp. They need to get rid of it. So, despite the chefs and the managers screaming, "Don't do it," the suits make the call. The ultimate endless shrimp. Permanent. All day, every day, $20. The internet did what the internet does. They gamified it. It became the Endless Shrimp Challenge. You had people like Madison on TikTok eating 108 shrimp in one sitting. People followed the strategy. Don't eat the biscuits. Drink water. Camp out for 4 hours. Restaurants make money by turning tables. You eat, you pay, you leave. But these people were squatting. They were eating $50 worth of shrimp for $20 and staying for 4 hours, meaning no one else could sit down. The kitchens crashed. Ticket times went to 45 minutes. Waiters were crying in the walk-in freezers. In just 3 months, Red Lobster lost $11 million on this deal. They tried to raise the price to $25, but it was too late. The cash reserves drained from $100 million to $30 million in 6 months. They couldn't pay their rent, that same rent from the 2014 deal. So Thai Union wrote off their investment and Red Lobster filed for Chapter 11. And then came the padlocks on Mother's Day. So what's the lesson here? It's easy to blame the gluttony of the American consumer. It's funny to say we ate them to death, but the truth is, Red Lobster didn't die because of shrimp. It died because it was hollowed out. It died because of financial engineering. The lesson is, if you sell your foundation for a quick buck, don't be surprised when the house falls down. And if your supplier owns you, you're not a partner, you're the product. Red Lobster is trying to come back now under new owners. The endless shrimp is gone. But for the thousands of workers who lost their jobs and the millions of us who lost a piece of our childhood, the damage is done. The tanks are empty. So what do you think? Was it the private equity greed, or should we really have exercised some self-control with the scampi? Let me know in the comments below. And seriously, tell me your best Red Lobster memory. Was it a first date, a graduation, or was it that time you ate 40 shrimp and regretted it instantly? I read all the comments. If you liked this deep dive, smash that like button. It really helps the channel. And if you want to see us cover the collapse of Toys R Us or the secret history of Pizza Hut, make sure you're subscribed. See you in the next one. Stay hungry, but maybe not endless hungry.